Hello, and welcome to our Innovation Women Speak webinar series. My name is Bobby Carlton. I'm the founder of Innovation Women. Innovation Women is a visibility bureau for entrepreneurial, technical, and professional women. Our mission is to eliminate the all male, all pale, and often all stale panels you see so often at industry conferences and events. We connect women with speaking opportunities and we connect event managers with awesome speakers who just happen to be women. Innovation Women is so much more than a traditional speaker bureau. Event managers can search the database for free, and speakers pay just $100 a year to become a member. They get a profile on the platform and access to lists of speaking opportunities, as well as a number of other cool benefits, including a few of these great features on Innovation Women. It's a way for speakers, consultants, workshop leaders, and subject matter experts to get the visibility that drives careers and business success. Our Kickstart cohort program can help you get the most out of your Innovation Women membership. Our teams provide you with guidance to help you perfect your profile and understand how to work with our extensive list of speaking opportunities. The cohort structure offers you a built in network for accountability and motivation. Each speaker needs a group of speaker friends. And for today's webinar attendees, we have a special offer of 20% off your first year. Use the code IWWebinar, that's in all capital letters, for 20% off. Check it out at innovationwomen.com. And before we get started with today's presentation, I encourage you to register for any of our upcoming webinars. On July 13th, I'll be moderating a panel for our Ask an Event Manager series in partnership with Answer Stage and with MDG. The discussion will be centered around coordinated event promotion, how speakers and events can work together. You'll learn tips on how to sell tickets, how speakers benefit from involvement with marketing, and best practices. You can register for this webinar in the Attachments tab. And before we get started, this is an annotated version of your screen. Below the video viewing window, there are tabs. The default tab is Ask a Question. You can ask a question or put a comment in at any time during the program. The Attachments tab is where you'll see documents and links from today's speaker and the link to sign up for future webinars. You can download the attachments at any time during this webinar and from the recording. The tab called Rate This helps us understand what you like. We read all the feedback. You can enlarge your screen to view it in full screen mode. If at any time you need audio help or the screen freezes, try refreshing the page and feel free to click on the help button at the bottom of the screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, so if you'd like to view it again, you'll be able to. We will send you the link after the webinar. And now on to today's presentation. With us today is Tanaha Hairston. Tanaha is the founder of Access Meta. She's a tech investor and business strategist who specializes in methods and tools to increase business valuation and lead generation. Over 15 years as a serial entrepreneur, she's started and sold multiple businesses in various industries, including SaaS, e-learning, consumer products. She helps investors and business owners to reduce the risk of failure and consistently be profitable while doubling the bottom line without additional advertisement, investments, or hiring. Let's get started. I'm going to allow you to take things away.
Hi, good morning. How are you? Welcome, everyone, to the Innovation Women event today. I'm so excited to be with you all. One of the things and one of the reasons why I even got into the digital scalable community is I started writing computer software. So I started in tech. But then when I had a change of life, I went back to grad school. And while I was there, I ran an investing network. And I discovered the best investors had entrepreneurial experience, meaning that they had started a company, they built a company. It was Shark Tank without the drama. And so I wanted that entrepreneurial experience for myself. And that's why I decided to be an entrepreneur, is because the best investors had that. And I had children. So I thought this is the best path to have something that was flexible, that I could maneuver around. Boy, was I wrong in terms of how much work and effort and energy it required, right? So it was one thing to read all of these business plans and ideas and investments that we were required to make into these businesses to build them. And it was another thing to bring forth the investors, but it was a total another thing when you are the entrepreneur and you are creating and building all by yourself, right? So my first business that I had, I actually hired two marketing firms. And how I even understood what I'm about to present today is because I lost a lot of money. And if that was you, where you have hired a marketing firm, or you've hired a company for your business to fill some gap, right? Here I was, I created all of these beautiful products and I hired a marketing firm and I lost thousands and thousands of dollars. If that's you, just raise your hand. I can't see you, but raise your hand. So that was me. It not only happened once, but it happened twice, where I thought to myself, I had patented and built these great products in the NutraSpace. I thought it would be easy. I wasn't excited about the NutraSpace. I left the tech space to enter the NutraSpace, but it was incredibly difficult. So how I learned what I'm going to share with you today is frankly because I had to. I had to learn because I needed to relinquish that investment that I spent and I took out of my own capital to start this business. Oh, I had to get it back. So that's how I learned the concept of creating digital scalable businesses. So if you have a business and if your goal is to grow it, to exit it, if you have a business and it's a lifestyle business, irregardless of whatever business that you have, or you may even work in the corporate level, right? No matter which sector or tranche that you're in, these principles are universally applicable, because this is what now we look at as investors in defining what is a good investment opportunity. And that's what's called a digital scalable growth system. And that's what I'm going to share today. And the reason why we like things like this is because revenue is predictable and revenue is scalable. That's why we like things like this. And so today, that's what I'm going to share, is how do you provide value to your own business, or to an existing enterprise that you may be a part of, by creating this landscape. So first, just going to really quickly, I'm going to go through this pretty fast because I want to talk about the purpose of digital commerce, right? And the purpose of tech, because the physical world always models the digital world. That's a really important concept to remember, right? When we're writing even something basic as an email between colleagues, even something when we're creating copy to interact with our existing customers or customers that we want, the physical world always models the digital world. So what's the purpose of it? Well, the purpose of it, right, is we can now use digital systems from the beginning to the end of the customer journey, from the first stage of where we're acquiring or informing about our product or service or who we are, all the way to the end to make that customer a raving fan. We want to digitize that, and we want to make sure that we have a system that is scalable. And we do that by understanding our customer journey. So let's think about like all the last purchases that we made, right? So did your last purchase begin digitally? Just think about it. Did it begin digitally? Whether we bought a house, whether we bought a car, right? Whether we even wanted to replace our AC units. So let's take that car as an example. Even now, did you know, and my team just did data on this in support of an acquisition group for automobile dealerships, but did you know that the buying journey happens 92% online now when we go to buy a car? So if, let's say, Susan, right, is buying a minivan for her family, everything starts online. She searches the type of car she thinks she may want that will satisfy her growing family. She searches the financing options. She searches and researches the different types of, right? So it's one thing to identify the type of vehicle, but then once she's identified that, then she researches the various different types of that vehicle that she wants. So if she's decided on a minivan, okay, so now what are the best minivan? And then she will go online and look at all the features. She will look at the car. She will research trade-in options. She will research financing options. So that last little 8% of her buying journey, and again, this is just even before the acquisition stage, all occurs digitally or virtually. So all of us, look, and we just did a quick poll, right? All of us, it started online, whether we're buying a piece of clothing, right? Because, ever since COVID, how many of us feel like the retail experience has changed or shifted, right? Whatever it is, we start our purchase online, and we figure out what are some of the best solutions for that. We read reviews, right? And by the way, let's take that automobile industry example that I gave. How many of us, when we actually decide on a practitioner, will look at the reviews? Reputation management, specifically, I'm going to go back to that auto dealership example because this is something that we just work on for auto acquisition opportunities, right? Um, Reputation management is the number one factor for automobile dealerships, right? People go and they search and they read about the reviews. Do we do the same thing for practitioners? If this is you, raise your hand. I can't see you, but raise your hand. That's me. My kids, they needed a chiropractor, right? And ours was, not available. My point is that we research and we review all of these things. We will start with our community, family, friends, right? But then we start by researching all of these other things. And all of that data, by the way, then we can take that and we can capture that so that we can really understand um, what the customer's thoughts are, because they're looking at all of these things online and we can get the data. So having an absolute online presence, having a positive online presence, y'all know this is a must. All right. So we've got that poll last purchase. If we think about some examples of a new media and what those look like, right? What are some examples of new media? Well, the old media was direct mail. So, for example, right, not to say direct mail still does work, but in terms, if you look at the data of number one, the open rates of direct mail and the call to action, the ability to make the consumer take action of open mail versus email, right? The data shows that that's 75% more. Networking has changed. Instead of physical networking groups right now, we have virtual networking groups. And y'all know some examples because you're probably a part of them. Everything from Discord now, right, in the tech community, to all different types of platforms. Even I have 3 kids, even my 2 daughters, right, are a part of communities that tell them the best products for their skin. They think that they know better than me now, right? Because someone in the virtual community has told them how good these products are for their skin or their hair, right? Um, those are the types of things that are happening in the virtual world now. Um, TV, right? If you look at online ads for the TV space versus now we have online video. How has that changed? Well, with TV, we used to target big macro audiences. The ability with hyper targeting and hyper marketing with online virtual, right, is because now we can find out the communities. We can know exactly the communities of who we're talking to, whether we have a business and our target market is a consumer of our alkaline water, whether our target market is buying our NFT solutions, whether our target market is using our software for complex analytical data. It doesn't matter who our target market is. We can figure out where they are, extract the data, right? We can review the comments, and then from those comments we can figure out their hopes, their dreams, their opportunities, their beliefs, right? We can figure out all of those things, and so we've got a beautiful starting point. We can not only look at the things that they're saying, but we can extract so much data about them and their contact information just by their communities. And so therefore we can hyper target. Therefore, marketing and advertising is much more cost effective when we can hyper target, versus with the TV, we didn't have that ability to do so before. That's one of the big major advantages that we have now that we didn't used to have, right? Radio, right? Versus now we have podcasts. How many of us have a podcast of choice that we listen to? I mean, I can't see you, but raise your hand, right? Where you're listening to a podcast while you're working out, or while you're cooking, or whatever it is that you do in your spare time outside of work and your family. How many of us have a podcast of choice that we're listening to? So that medium has shifted. The same thing for newspapers and blogs, right? So we're consuming content in a different level. I actually subscribed to the Wall Street Journal, and my children made fun of me just because I said I wanted to support the dying periodical industry, the physical industry. And my kids actually made fun of me, who actually reads physical periodicals anymore, right? But my point of it is that our new media is changing, and it allows us to get really granular. It allows us to see exactly who we're speaking to communicate with them in the language that converts, because we know exactly what they're saying. And the purpose of digital commerce, right? So there's opportunities. I put this slide here because if you are your own shareholder, right? If you have your own business, then you can utilize the digital landscape to seek acquisition opportunities for customers, for strategic partners, right? All of this you can use if you're your own shareholder. If you're an investor, right? We use it to identify opportunities that we can have as a portfolio that we can bring as a portfolio company, and we can help grow and build them with tech, right? If you are within a corporate community, you can still utilize digital commerce, and we should all understand it. One of my this is a 30-year-old problem. My dad worked for companies like Honeywell and Intel and Motorola. And one of his main issues at the dinner table every night was that he's an electrical engineer, and he was in the technology organization and the development organization as marketing and technology. They never were really quite cohesive. They all had, different agendas and different thoughts, right? So even if you're within corporate, understanding that landscape helps you and as a technical contributor and developer as well. That's really important to understand this at a high level, depending on where you're positioned and depending on where you want to be positioned, right, for your long-term goals. You guys already know this. I don't have to go through this. 1 trillion Adobe by 2022, right? The amount of digital commerce. You guys already know that everything begins, whether we're on, buying plane tickets, or whether we're, doing something from our house. Okay, so what does this include? To me, the most important part of digital, right, is really understanding your data and your analytics, right? It really is, because I can take that data and analytics. I can have my team take the data and analytics, and we can figure out from the very beginning, when I'm acquiring a customer, I can take a look. Already there's some basic tools that I can look at, and I can within 5 minutes, I can understand where my competitors, where they're at, what they're saying, how they're marketing, what their systems are. I can do that within 5 minutes with quick digital analytics, very quickly, very easily, right? And then I also can understand the people, the processes, and the tech in order to execute my initial content. And again, the content starts from the very beginning when I'm going to even make the customer aware of who I am, to that second part where I'm going to have them thinking about whatever it is that I'm offering, to the third part where I want to convert them. Understanding this, I think, is really important, as I said before, no matter where you're at along the ecosystem, because you can use digital for customer acquisition and retention, right? There are beautiful AI tools for this, right? Beautiful AI tools and ML tools for this. I even like it for optimizing customers' experience at all touch points through their buyer journey. So initially, I'm using data and analytics to, get really clear on how to acquire my customers. I can do that really quickly in 5 minutes. The next step, what gets them to really consider us, right? Then this is when I can scour and have my team put together where they're at, what their hopes, what their dreams are. I mean, there's beautiful boards that we can create around that. And that's with analytics and data. With my promotion and pricing, there's great AI. There's great AI for that now, that's really, really, really efficient, and it's not expensive, and it's very, very easy. Why do we like this? Well, because we want to have consistent models for growth, right? When we want to build something in order to, and I repeated that again, whenever we want to build it for revenue growth, because that's the goal, right? Once we have identified our right target market fit, and that's like a quick puzzle fit, once we've identified that and our messaging is crystal clear and our offer is optimized to convert, then we want to build consistent models for revenue growth. And we want to leverage quick and proven ways to acquire a customer, to develop the sales and revenue growth. And so that's why we're in love with digital so much, right? Because it can put us in all the places where our market is already hanging out. And then we can, with media is so beautiful, right? Because then now you can connect with media leaders of, wherever they are, YouTube, LinkedIn, right? You can connect with those media leaders, establish strategic partnerships, right? And then all of a sudden, you're right where your target market is. You're right where they're at, and you've got their eyes and their ears. We could not do that before, right? Or you can extract that data from these media groups, and then you can put them and add them, develop strategic relationships to add them to your funnel. We could not do this years ago. So these types of things, content, keeping them up to date. So you'll see as we go through the customer journey how, I really like to kind of weave these things in, the content, the social, the SEO if you're physical, right? And then ads when you need ads, and then when you don't, right? There's a lot of things that we can do now to 500x leads even without ads. On our email marketing, right? I still love email. The favorite is SMS now, which is debunked email. But you have to, just make sure that you have permission in order to do that. As long as you have permission, the favorite is hands down SMS. Because you can do ringless voicemails. There's a lot of things you can do now to get your customer to respond quickly. But it all starts at the customer journey and how we nurture those relationships through the journey. And then for us, right, if you have a founder of a business and they're responsible over, all of the tranches of their business, if you take them out, what we want to make sure is that the business will continue to grow irregardless of the founder, right? That's really important, because if you're building to sell, otherwise, why else would you? I'm sure most of us are investing or building. When I was building, it was building to sell, right? Because you want to have that next, that next beautiful life for your family. That's typically one of the reasons that we hear from most business owners as to the reason why they're now ready to sell, right? And I know that was mine too. So it starts with understanding that customer journey. And if they're not ready to, if they don't have that, then of course that's something that we help them to do. But I'm sharing this with you now because these are things that we look at as investors. And if they don't have this, these are things that we implement to make sure that the process is it's a cyclical process to consistently bring in new customers, nurture their relationship as well as new ladders. And we want to make sure that there's a value ladder in place. The beautiful part about the value ladder, right, is that you can bring customers in at some ground level introductory offering, right? The dentist example is a great one, come in for a checkup, right? And then they can upsell you through the value ladder, right? A product is a great example, right? Where they bring you in and, you're offered like a free trial of a product, for, some nominal fee, where you pay shipping. That's a great example of a value ladder for a product, right? A coaching, right? Another beautiful example is you get their book for free plus shit, right? That's another beautiful example of a value ladder, right? Um, you know, Independent of what the business is, if you establish a sales ladder that guides the customer into making their buying decisions and incorporates their final offer, it provides the customer the best value that they can afford. And then we make it profitable at every single stage. So that's what that looks like. It's a combination of, okay, what are upsells? They've came in here. What can we upsell along the way, right? And what can we cross sell and downsell? So for every single product, we're kind of analyzing that to make sure we're giving the customer the maximum value. And we can do it, right? These things are really not hard because if you really listen to your customer, right? Like we have one of our portfolio companies, he freezes because he's like, I don't know what to say in this, messaging. And I go, but the beautiful part is that you don't, right? You have customers. So we just have to listen. We have to listen, and then we have to use what they want, right? In templated sequences, almost like we're writing our computer program, right? And there's a syntax for that. It's the same way, when we're creating our messaging, we're listening, and then we're taking that messaging and we're putting that in a format. That's it, guys. That's what content marketers, there's a format, but it starts by listening. That's at its very simplest form. That's exactly what's happening there. Okay. But we have to know what they want, what they're asking for. This is kind of what we explained, through a value ladder. And again, we love the upsell, the downsells throughout the entire one. Where we want to get to with our business, because what really allows us to have a maximum exitable valuation is when we control the traffic and we control our data, right? We don't want anyone else to control our data. There's so many things we can do once we own and control our own data. And so those are examples of controlled, right? So if you're offering something, right, and you have one of these that go down, you're not controlling it, right? But then there's things that we can do, where we do and we own it, because no matter what, we can hedge ourselves from risk. So from an investor point of view, we love traffic that's not controlled, right? That we would own, as a company that we've invested in, or we would own as a company that we're the founder of. That's what we want to get to. And we always want to control the data, right? I put this in here because I love this. These are some things that, we do specifically if once we've identified the customer journey for one product, right? These are things very easily, quick data, where if you have your niche, right, you can even use, very quick, easy tools to get, keyword research is so easy, like 5 minutes done, right? So if you know your main niche, let's call it, AI copiers, AI. We have a company that creates copy for AI, right? So then, you can really quickly, tools, keyword research of who's using AI for copy, right? Why are they using it? When are they using it? And why? You get that data really quickly. You can figure out, like, within, as long as you have one competitor, you can figure out the rest of your competitor landscape, primary and secondary ones, and then you kind of consolidate. This is what that looks like. It's not hard to create, but you can, we want to capture, like, okay, what does their social look like? Put that all, so you have all of these maps in front of you. What does their checkout look like? What is their journey map? Their upsells, downsells, what do their pages look like, right? And, we're clear on what that looks like. And then we think, okay, so how can we take that, right, and apply it towards what we're doing that's differently than what they're doing? But at least we're clear on what that macro approach looks like. And then, from that data, we can really get clear. And again, this is easy with tools. We can get clear on who our personas are. What are their desires, their habits, their interests, their inspiration, their pains, their needs, right? And then from that, we can create our new product mix. So again, this is after we have an existing product. This is after we have an existing journey and we're kind of identifying those next opportunities. That's what that looks like. And the difference between a site that you put up, right? So for me, this is what I didn't understand. This is what I didn't get, right? I didn't understand that I needed to track the customer journey. I didn't know, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know that I needed to have KPIs at every process. I didn't know, right? But now, if there's a company that we're working with to help grow to exit, right? Or we're coaching to grow to exit. That's one of the first things that if they don't have that, we help them to implement is a customer journey map. And where we're really marking and defining that initial interaction from the awareness stage all the way to the promotion stage with the flow chart, right? That's how you become a scalable company. Very simple. So number one, we're defining the journey map for every product, for every single opportunity that we're using to get new products, right? So we may have multiple journey maps and multiple flow charts, right? And then there's KPIs for every single stage. And so this is what that looks like, right? It looks like stage number one. This is where, whatever channel, however they got to us, right? Did we buy massive email list or did we acquire email list, whatever we did, right? Is it organic social, right? Which is like watching sugar drip from a wine glass sometimes, right? But, it builds your brand awareness. Is it organic? Did they search and did they find us, right? Is it paid media? Is it LinkedIn? Do we build a LinkedIn funnel, right? Is it a Facebook? If it's an ad, if it's B2B, it's LinkedIn. If it's businesses, we acquired an email list. If we're physical location, it's SEO. However it is they found out about us. We document that in stage number one, and then we document key metrics for that, right? So, that first, like whatever the X thing is, however let's say it's our email and we're doing cold email. We can document, right, the number of opens. That's the first stage. Or if it's, an ad, we can document clicks, right? Or we can document gated lead captures. Or we document like their responses, right? So we put KPIs on the beginning stage, number one. Number two is when they're thinking about it. Gosh, I don't know, right? Do I want to join this group's program? And because they will help me do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to consider it. So then I'm going to document that in stage two, because that's what that looks like. And then, however we decide to follow up with them, it could be a call, it could be face-to-face, it could be an email, right? However it is that we're documenting stage number two, then there's KPIs associated with that. So maybe we're tracking our leads. Maybe we're tracking our website engagement or our landing page engagement, however many landing pages we have. Maybe we're documenting all of that, right? If it's physical, maybe we're documenting, brochures. Maybe we're documenting sales calls. What's our return on investment calculator? Maybe we're documenting all that. All right. So that's what that looks like. Capturing customers' interest at the very beginning, however it is. Maybe it's a webinar. I'm a coach, it's a webinar. Maybe it's, I've got, Calm Earth Clothing Sheet Company, and I sent out, some kind of, email marketing, or I mailed something, right? And then how many responses I got just from them considering that. Maybe I'm documenting that. And then the stage number three is conversion. So now they've considered what we've offered and they've decided to convert. Hey, I'm going to join that program. It's, hundreds of dollars or whatever. I'm going to join that program. I'm going to buy those sheets, right? That are a couple $100 because they're supposed to be the best ones ever, Oprah endorsed, right? I don't, whatever it is. I'm going to, purchase that new car, whatever it is. I'm documenting the conversion stage. And there's key performance indicators, our metrics there, right? So signed agreements, B2B, right? Signed agreements, first purchases, um, our checkouts, right? We're documenting all of those things. And also at this stage, we're really we get clear on what our scripted onboarding and welcome process looks like, right? From sales to training, from account messaging, all of those things are welcome, to the software community, X software community, where we will help you do complex analytics, right? I'm just throwing that out as an example there. And then, we just make sure these processes are run like a filed oiled machine. And then for each stage, by the way, right, we're following up. If we got SMS permission, we're doing that. If we've got ringless voicemail permission, we're doing that, right? And we're following up to even just get to move them to the next stage. And that's what that looks like. We're moving them along from one stage to the next. And then scaling, well, gosh, we know their hopes and their dreams, and now we can offer supplemental products or services. So that's where we can say, you know what? You have purchased our custom design software that we're going to create for you. Now we're going to add in a license, a management package. Let's call that, right? A management package. Well, we will, because technology changes, so we will manage your software for you and we'll do all your updates for you. And here's what that management contract looks like. I'm just giving an example. That could be an upsell, right? Or we've created an association specifically for researchers that are certified to do economic centra, right? I'm working with an economist, one of our companies now, economic central research, right? It's a type of research that economists do. I've created a certification on that to create some annual recurring revenue for my company. That's what we would document in the scale. And then number 5 is how we can take them from a current customer to making them an ad, to making them a pro. This is where I love like AI as well, right? Our net promoter scores, our customer service satisfaction, right? I love AI, for tracking, customer service and customer service rates. I like it for the consideration and informed stage 2, but I really love it, just easily for customer service. I love that. I love it, machine learning for that too. And then, responses, right? Maybe we're doing a survey. Maybe we're creating a process, right, for gathering and showcasing testimonials. We've got a rewards program. Maybe we're now working through affiliates, right? Depending on what our sales, journey looks like. And so we've got some partners established, right? So whether this journey map, so based on one product, so let's say we're selling, I don't know, access to a women's tech community or something like that, right? If we're doing that, that's one product, then we're going to document that for one channel. If it's a product, again, one product, we're going to document that all the way through. And then we're going to put the key metrics. And then these are just examples of responses that you would put all the way through. This is where it really starts. Because then the beautiful part about this is that at the beginning, right, we're a worker within the company, right? And then we're a manager, and then we're working in the org chart as a leader, right? But then ultimately we're moving like above and then on top of the business, right? And we're moving like on the board, and then we're giving strategic advice. You want the business to be able to function like without the owner. And that's the process of building an exitable company. And it starts here. So, and then if you have this, right, and then we're turning those products, one of the other things that we love, just because the valuation is like 5x, is to creating the MRR and the monthly recurring and the ARR opportunities. So we're productizing opportunities to create that. That's why that's really important. I know we as consumers don't love that, but from a business perspective, those opportunities will give you the maximum valuation. So we love this, right? Because it's kind of very easily price pointed, productized offerings that you can do and you can sell. So based on your core offer, what does that upsell? What does that upsell look like? Down. Okay, so these are our digital messaging checkpoints. How can we allow our customers to survive and thrive and experience the pleasure or the pain? So I started out with that before. And again, we want to see what they want, what problems are we solving of theirs, and we want to make their life look like when our product or service is there, that we're actually either helping them to avoid the pain or experience pleasure with digital. And it has to be simple, because if we make people think too much, if we confuse them, then we're like really losing them. So we don't want to make people exhaust too much energy. And even if we're talking about tech, right, the clearer it is, the clearer we use communication that actually converts, the clearer that is, and the simple that it is, then we can have the ability to connect. So, and frankly, like I said before, I love these digital concepts because we can apply them in the physical world, right? Whether we're sending an email, to peers, whether we're sending an email within our organizations, right? If we take these concepts of what does that other person kind of really, really want? I love the EQ concepts because you really have to use them in digital messaging, getting clear on what they want, and then communicating in a way that's really simple. And you don't want to make them burn too many calories thinking, because if they're confused, and people either freeze up, right? They just don't do anything because they're just confused. They're like, I don't know what to do with this. So they just they just stop, and then they don't do anything. And so I always know, right, especially, with our tech CEOs, like if they stop, it's because they're overthinking too much and they're confused, right? So if we just stop, and pause and make sure that it's really simple, no matter who it is. And it's okay to be simple, right? It's okay. Because if more is needed to solve a complex problem, then that's when you can, give that and add that in there. It's really okay. We don't have to show people how much we know. We really, really don't. We want to be focused more on, like, okay, what are the long-term goals that we want for the business? What are the long-term goals that we want for ourselves? Right? So clarity of the business, clarity on ourselves, clarity on what we are good at. I offer this, and here's what I'm good at. And then I build a team around to supplement what I'm good at. Here's where I want to go with the business, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, right? So based off of that, then the decisions that we're going to make, here's our opportunity, here's our next opportunities, are going to support where we want to go 3 years from now, 5 years from now. That's a beautiful lesson that I learned from the EO group, the entrepreneur organization group, is being really clear on long term. If it's an investable company, then right? Because you understand, like, I need to be able to give this back to the shareholders, and we need to make this amount. Our goal is to make this amount of return, right? So those decisions are typically kind of decided by the group that's investing. If you're a business owner, then you want to take the time to think about that. Like, how much time do I want to spend and grow? I had a call with a, potential investment opportunity yesterday, that we're talking about partnering and growing their company, but they put 12 years sweat equity, and they've got all these amazing patents, but no revenue, no revenue. No high volume usage, no revenue, right? And as the climate of our financial system, is, I'm going to use the word evolve because I love positivity, right? Is evolving, as we can all see, evolving, then that means that we have to make decisions, right? And so as investors, right, we're now looking for businesses that either have substantial proof of sales and opportunity, right? Profitable businesses, or you have to have a demonstrated need. And so, it's really tough, but I had to say, you've got all these patents, but there's no clear revenue, and you're offering all things to all people. No one wants to do, people like putting things in a box. They really, really do. Right. So, I stay in my lane. I love tech and I love investing, right? I stay in my lane, right? Could I say, oh, I could also do this or that? Yes. But we want to be really super clear on what it is that we do and whatever it is that we offer. And the same thing with our businesses, right? Not to say that, X target market and Y and Z target market couldn't also use our service, but we want to establish a clear, scalable journey map based on, one particular target market first, and then iteratively refine that and grow that. And then we go on to the next opportunity and then the next, right? So we want to clarify one first. Love this. Love the whole Donald Miller brand story. Love it so much that I share it whenever I can, because it really makes it clear, right? We are the customer's the hero, and we're helping them solve the problem that they want to solve. Now, can we use tech tools and AI and IoT and ML to kind of and big data to establish these things pretty quickly? Absolutely, right? But the premise of this is definitely on point, right? We're not the hero. Like I tell our portfolio companies, we don't have to think, because our customers are going to tell us what they want, and it doesn't matter what I think. Who cares, right? It doesn't matter what you think. What it matters is what the customer wants and how we're helping them to survive and thrive. And are we presenting that in a clear way? Love sharing that, because that way we don't have to take that, right? So much of what we do is data driven. It really is. And then combining that emotional quotient, right, which we naturally have as women. And if I can share that, there's so many skills, women, that we transcend, right? If you look at the Harvard Journal on leadership qualities and where men excel over women, right? There's really only one, and that one is fear. And so if we think about that, and embrace, right? Sometimes we cannot be fearful when we understand what to do. So part of this presentation was, if you're a women entrepreneur, or you're a women consultant, right? Or you're in your own business, or you're a woman in tech, if we're clear on where we're going, then we don't have to be fearful about it. If we know the path and we know how to track the path along the way, then we don't have to be fearful. All of the other qualities, 90% of the other qualities, we actually score higher than men. But we hold back, right? Like I see from the men investor, right? They're very quickly to tell you what they can't do, right? Very, very quickly, right? And then we can hold back. And we shouldn't. We shouldn't, because we are powerful. As long as we understand the path, and as long as we understand the steps to get there, we can do it. All right. So how do we build for growth? So after we establish that journey map, we're building for growth. And that's reviewing that growth engine, one KPI for every step of the journey, right? That's a meeting with the team, and it's a growth scorecard. You can even a simple Excel spreadsheet, right? And then it's red, green, yellow, right? We're doing great with our KPI, green, right? There's trouble here, red. You guys already know that, right? Once that's done, and we've established that for every journey, we make sure our messaging is clarified, right? Core deep desire statement. If I offer you X, right, without, pain, would you take me up on this offer, and craft a great offer statement? And then that's how we can begin to test, our next 3 offerings. Auditing, our pay, all of our landing pages, sales, auditing all of that, making sure that core desire statement is in there, and then tweaking our headlines and scripts. And that's how you build for growth. That really is. So that's an example of what a growth scorecard looks like. I love this because if it's an investable company, we're partnering with a company and coaching them for growth, to help them grow and exit, right? Then it's a concept of how can we immediately come in and take some things that are really cost effective and grow the business, right, and give them some transformational value. Well, that's kind of how we do it. All right, so there's my contact information. Yep. And if you have any questions through the process, as I said before to Bobby, one of my goals is to see more women in investing and to see more women fearlessly using tech and tech systems. So it's not hard at all. So whether you are, again, as I said this before, branching out and you want your own business, or you already have it and you want to grow it, or you want to be an investor and then use these principles for portfolio companies, they all apply. They all really apply. So it was nice being with you today. Really nice being with you.
Hi.
And I look
We
forward to
have
serving.
we have some questions for you already. And folks, if you have a question, drop it into the Q&A tab. Some
Okay.
people have been doing that over the course of the presentation. So that was awesome. I love hearing perspective from somebody who is not only a marketer, but an investor. So
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
key. And actually, one of the first questions that we have is somebody that's, I think, kind of addressing the dichotomy of you, which is how do I get clarity on a business for
Yeah.
myself or a business to acquire?
Yeah. So great question, right? So if I had to do it all over again, I would have not have started my business from scratch, hands down. Going back 15 years ago, I would not have done that. What I would have done is, and I think there's a place for that, and I love it when people say, find your passion and connect. Right? Okay, that's great. But depending on what your goals are, right, you can be equally as passionate about a business, right, that is a massive, company that creates beautiful waterfalls, right, if it's bringing in the amount of capital that you can take out to where it's running itself to where you can have the life you want for you and your family, right, you can also create passion that way. I was not passionate about computer science, right, at all. You can create that. I got passionate about it though when I discovered, oh my gosh, I can be in this tranche of computer science. I don't have to always develop. And that's how I got passionate about it. But how you identify a business to actually acquire is number one, right? You start by being clear on what you want. What industry are you working in? And whether this is really important in the business that you decide to invest in. Because also keep in mind, if you have an existing business, you can roll up and do M&A mergers in your existing business, right? You can do that. But let's just say starting ground zero, right? I don't have a business. You can say, okay, what's my experience? What's my background, right? Okay, tech, investing, right? So I love tech, and so I'm going to look at tech. I'm going to look at e-com, right? Right, because that's digital scalable, right? Whatever my background is, it could be music, but then you have to decide like what's the profitability look like of that. Then I'm going to search like what's the valuation of the business and what are they selling? What multiples are they selling at, right? Some media companies kind of sell at 1x of revenue, right? So but a SaaS business can sell up to 6x all the way up to 10x. It just depends on what it is. 6x, of your EBITDA, 10x, right? So it just depends on what it is. So then once you identify what do I have research in, what can I give value in, right? So that's why I asked about your background, because you want to think, who can I bring in that's going to give value, or what is my value that I can use to help grow this or save them money, right? Once you know and you're clear on your value, then I would use that to buy a business. Or sometimes they offer training. If it's something that's simple, like, waterfalls or some trucking routes, right? Or, maybe it depends. Are you a professional, right? Are you an engineer, or do you not have a technical background? You can do just as well, like buying HVAC businesses, right? If you're non-technical. Um, and I'm just throwing that out as an example because it doesn't necessarily have to be, a professional business. You can buy, I sat next to a plan on somebody who just acquired, eye offices from ophthalmologists, right? That's
Hmm.
all they did. There was a small PE firm that just acquired those, right? Whatever it is that you think I can bring really good value to this and I can help it grow, or I like it and I'm passionate about it and I'm going to learn, right? And, the beautiful thing about a business is there already profit that's already built in. So you already have a salary, right? You
At
already
least
have
you
a
hope
salary.
so.
Well, you buy it, right? And you buy it and you ask them, right? So you ask them, right? Okay, so how much is the seller's discretionary earnings, right? Because with a business, I can pull out and I can pay for all sorts of things, right? So you want to find out what their seller discretionary earnings are. And then they're going to tell you like what the profits are of the business. So once you identify what the profits are, what you need and how much you need to spend in order for it to grow, right? Then you know what your profits are, right? So I would never buy a non-profitable business. There's far too many profitable businesses. I would never buy a non-profitable business. I would find one that the owner is like, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I've had a partnership change. I'm going through a divorce, right? I'm ready to go in a different direction, right? I would find one, right? And I don't really like the biz buy sell, not that, right? I'm not suggesting that by any means. So I think you should practice there. But, outside of that, I would find a good, profitable, steady, investable business that I knew that I could grow and bring value to. That's what I would do if I had to do it all.
All
If I
right.
was
So,
starting 15 minutes.
so would you start a business, buy a business, or build a business
No,
via acquisition?
yeah. So I would actually acquire a business. Absolutely. Hands down. And then I would, take a look at what the business has and I would, come up with that's the next talk, right? How do you finance it? Right. But the short answer is I would buy a business. I would not start a business from scratch, right? There's a 97% failure. Why would I go into something that has a 97% failure rate? Why would I do that? The numbers don't make sense.
Let somebody else
Um,
do the hard part of starting it.
yeah, yeah, I would let them they've already figured out target market fit. They've already crafted some messaging, right? They're already profitable because I would buy a profitable business. Hands down. 100% of the time.
Where were you when I was starting all these businesses? Gosh darn it. Had we
Yeah.
known you then.
Yeah. Yeah, hands down. I would totally buy.
All right, we are
Yeah.
getting to the end of our time here. Any last tips for folks?
Yes, that one with women is really crucial. Being clear how we proceed without fear, right? Because that's really important. I meant that when I look at the data on how men excel over women. If we operate without fear, right? This is, I'm an engineer guy, so I love data. I love it, right? But that's the one thing that they really have over us. So if we can learn, right, the more we learn, the more clear we are on where we want to go and how we want to get there, right? And part of my talk today was to try and shortcut, you and share everything that I shared, share with someone else because I'm trying to shortcut us, right? So that I've got two girls so that we help our next generation so that way they operate as more of like an investment banking and think about who you see and which groups, kind of really have the capital to really do great things with,
Mm.
right? The entrepreneur, when you go to the startup scene and I know because I started there, right? It's hit or miss. It really is very hit or miss. I know because I started there. But please share, with our next generation and operate without fear. And how we operate without fear is being clear on where we want to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I mean, I was telling Bobby, like, I want to spend a portion the rest of my 40s and 50s, getting women into tech and investing, right? The clearer we are, we can operate and we don't have fear.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you all for joining us at home. These Innovation Women webinars are brought to you by Lioness Magazine and my speaker leads. And again, here's that code for 20% off your first year on Innovation Women. And we always love hearing what you think. Take a minute and give us some feedback. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you next time. Take care, Halls.